Hello everybody, it's the Last Raider. We are back with another video, and today we're in the Truth About Guns. A buddy of mine, Tactical Reviews, that I follow online, put this up here, and it hits two things that I love to do the most: shooting guns and working on them, and playing video games. Those are my two big name hobbies that I do. So, with other little hobbies that I've got in there, I dabble in HEMA and do bladesmithing, but these are the two main ones that I like. I like playing video games. I like using guns. So anytime the two are combined, it's like peanut butter and honey. I know some people are like, what about PB&J? My thing is peanut butter and honey. I'm not a big jelly fan. I don't like it. It feels like I'm eating a bug. So anyway, going on, it's a texture thing. Anyway, Truth About Guns put up this video about suppressors in video games and why they make guns worse. And there's a reason for this. It's not that it ruins gameplay. It's the fact that in reality, what developers do here, and then we'll read through this, you'll see this. They tend to hamper the gun. And in some instances, I'm going to show you here, in some instances, that's actually not the case when it comes to different calibers, especially in handguns. But let's jump right into this. So, we've already skipped the part where he talks about how suppressors can sometimes make you more accurate because your body's not reacting to the report. It also helps with your hearing and everything else, and that you can get some cam suppressors that are like really quiet, and there is a difference, but a lot of your calibers are usually pretty loud, and it doesn't make the gun so quiet you can shoot right next to a guy, miss him, and him not hear it. Okay, there are some things that video game developers could do, but this is where he goes into like what he means by them lowering the report here, or making the guns worse. Which brings us to how video games handle silencers. When a game is going through development, good developers will test the ever-living heck out of it. Not just for bugs, but also for gameplay, enjoyment, and something they call balance. And balance is one of those things in video games that I absolutely hate to no end. It ruins a lot of good stuff. That's making sure that there's enough challenge for the player, that the enemies are sufficiently strong without being unbeatable, and that there aren't perks that make a player an unstoppable super being. Here in the real world, silencers have a more natural balance. They improve the abilities of the shooter, but what you gain in accuracy and stealth, you lose in weight and concealability. This is true. Can't conceal a gun with a giant frickin' coffee can on the end of it. So in order to balance out... Oh, wait, never mind. Unfortunately, for game design... Wow. My tongue just got all tied up there. Okay, try that again. Unfortunately for game developers, these two factors aren't things that model well in video games. So in order to balance out the beneficial impact of silencers, they need to turn to other factors to make the gun's performance worse. And this is the problem. They usually do some really stupid stuff. They impact like its performance, its abilities, what it can do. Specifically, the most common impact is a decreased accuracy, decreased range, and decreased damage. Now, this is based on, and I want to stop here because this is actually based on some real-world stuff when it comes to firearms. Okay, an actual gun. Back in the day, they would use, when 9mm was really popular over 45, right about, in the Cold War era. Everyone was looking at using suppressors, to like suppress stuff down. Most people did not have to worry about the range that they were shooting at. You didn't have to worry about firing guns at gun-godly ranges. Most of the time, people would just... There's one in particular that I absolutely love, is the suitcase gun, where they took a Wanther PPK and put some subsonic 9mm in it, or something. I can't remember. I don't know what that thing is chambered in. I know it was a 9mm Walther. And they put a suppressor on the end of it, a big suppressor, and then just taped it into a briefcase with a mechanism to pull it. So a guy's walking down the street, he just turns and stitches you up, and then he takes off running. Like, everyone's like, oh my god, the Prime Minister of Russia has been shot. So everybody takes off running. They don't know where the bullets come from. And they're thinking, oh man, this probably come from like the roofs or the top of the buildings. They're looking everywhere for a long range shooter. Your shooter's already running down the street with his briefcase gun. The problem, though, is you'll notice I stated one thing: subsonic ammo. And subsonic ammo, if you put most regular ammunition inside of a gun and you fire it, and this is where the accuracy, the range, and the damage debuff comes into play. When you put something like 9mm into a gun and you put a suppressor onto it, the point of the suppressor is to trap the gases and shut the gun down. Stop the big bang coming off. Problem is with a supersonic bullet, such as a regular 9mm, which already fly at supersonic speed. When you fire that out of the gun, when it exits the barrel, it emits a small sonic boom, which sounds like somebody cracking a whip. At that point, and if you've ever cracked a whip, you're like, oh wow, that's actually quite loud. Here's where this becomes kind of a problem, because they're doing this thinking the suppressor is causing this. And game developers a lot of times don't know. It's usually the ammunition that is being neutered down. So what you do is you put a little less powder into your 9mm round. And when you fire it, it comes out the barrel, but it comes out slow enough it doesn't hit the sonic, it doesn't break the sound barrier. And when it goes down range, it has a little bit less range, it has a little bit less accuracy, it has a little bit less damage because it's not moving as fast as it was intended to. This is all well and good. I can understand that. Where I draw the line at is when they take guns like the 45, guns that fire the 45 ACP. Now, the 45 ACP does about the same damage as your stock 9mm ammo in Full Metal Jacket. A Full Metal FMJ will do, or in 45, will do the same damage as a hollow point 9mm. Even though the 9mm is moving at the speed of sound. What happens is you need that speed off the 9mm to make it more effective. There's two ways to increase the power of a gun. One, or increase the power of a round, I should say. One, you put a heavier projectile in it. Two, you speed up the projectile. All right. Think Last Jedi with Admiral Holdo when she flies the ship supposedly at light speed. I think the entire scene's bullshit, but the physics right there are about the same. Don't get me started on Star Wars. That is not a video I want to do right now. Anyway, so why is this a problem with a 45 ACP? It should have like a damage reduction and a range reduction and accuracy reduction because you're reducing powder in a 45. Here's the thing. Stock 45 ACP is already subsonic. Because the bullet has a lot of mass, it doesn't need to move at the speed of sound. So it moves a little bit slower. How much slower? It's really not that big of a difference. You're not going to matrix dodge it. But it moves just slow enough that when you put a cam suppressor onto the end of it, and I fired a 1911 one time. I had a dude had a tricked out Springfield 1911, the ones that a lot of guys, I believe the Navy SEALs were looking at one time. And he had been in the Marine Corps, and he went out and bought one after he had gotten to play around with them a little bit. And we out there, you fire in a 1911. Now here's the thing about 45 ACP out of a 1911. It's loud. Okay? It's louder than an AR. It's louder than a shotgun. It's louder than most 308s. And it just doesn't seem really. I often joke with people. I'm like, yeah, the one time I have to use my gun defensively, everybody's going to be on the floor with one shot. Because the first thing they're going to be thinking is, oh my God, I've been shot in the ears. And somehow I'm still... Firing a 45 ACP without... The difference between a 45 ACP and a 1911... What did I say there? The difference between a 9mm, that's why I said 1911. I was thinking 9mm and I went over to 1911. I've got too many numbers going through my head. The difference between a 9mm being fired and a 45 ACP being fired without hearing protection. 9mm is, oh, that's uncomfortable. I have some tinnitus now. 45 ACP is, holy shit, where did those Q-tips come from that got jammed in my ears? Yeah, honey, I know it's a week later, but I still can't understand what you're saying. You're going to have to speak up. It does impair your hearing. You have a serious case of tinnitus, at least I have, after firing without hearing protection. First time I did it, it was just like, we're lazy. We're not going to put some hearing protection on. We all had to try it. So, well, I ended up jacking my ears up, and then the 4 guys that were with me were like, yeah, it can't be that bad. Let me try it. Everybody wanted to be a man. After we got done, we realized we weren't as man as we thought we were. But anyhow, so with that, like I said, 45 ACP is really, really loud. But you put a cam suppressor on the end of it, it gets stupid quiet. Like, the only thing you're hearing is the slide moving back and forth on the gun. You don't even hear a pop. It's just that actually, it's not the of the gases you're hearing. You're actually hearing the slide move back and forth. It's really, really quiet. Now, this in the real world has a bouncing effect, like they say in the article here. And I'm going to leave a link to this for anyone who wants to, go over here, check it out. Truth About Guns is actually a pretty cool site if you want to look up some gun stuff. But one of the things that he mentions in here is you lose in weight and concealability. One, your handgun is going to be bigger because you got this giant coffee can with baffles on the end of it. The second thing that you do lose concealability. But with my 1911, here's the kicker. With my 45 ACP 1911, I have, I believe, well, yeah, it's like an 8-round magazine. With a 9mm Glock, you're looking at 12 rounds. So you're sacrificing almost twice the capacity of a 9mm for the damage factor and the damage factor in the suppressed format with a 1911. One of the things I would do when I would play video games, my own tales of playing video games, when I would play Ghost Recon, I would leave most of my weapons without a suppressor because I like realism. And the only gun I would suppress is anything chambered in 45 ACP. Because, and guys always ask me, they're like, why are you running around with a pistol with a suppressor on it? I was like, 1, I like the challenge. 2, it's realistic. And like I said, a 45 ACP, you can fire that thing. Someone might hear the click. They may not even recognize what it is. They may think a light switch is going off, the clack off of it. I mean, it's really just barely anything. I mean, it's not a very loud report. 9mm will have a much louder report. In video games, I've often stated, you could do like a minimum distance, and Ghost Recon did this. There was a minimum distance with your rifles when you'd fire them. At around the 300 meter range, I would say. Usually what I would do is I would set up sniper position about 300 meters out, because then I could get all the damage out of whatever rifle I was using, which most of the rifles in the game will kill 90% of the enemies in Ghost Recon Wildlands with one shot. The kicker is you got to be accurate. I'd run the SR-25 most of the time because, rapid follow-up shots. While if my guys get into a fight, you can just sit there and just start popping bad guys, and they wouldn't know what was going on. They'd stay out in the open unless you missed. And then they're like, oh, somebody's shooting at me. And then you got to kill that bastard real quick before he tells everybody else. But, like I said, I just sit out at the 300 meter range whenever I could. And at 300 meters, they didn't know they were being shot at half the time. They didn't hear the gun. You could do like a minimum distance in video games. So this kind of, I guess this is more or less a video for not just myself, but it's also a video for gamers as well. So I thought it was an interesting subject on the Truth About Guns. You want to check it out? I'll leave a link to it in the description. Thanks Tactical Reviews for showing me this. Y'all check him out on Twitter. I might put a link to his Twitter handle too while I'm at it. Y'all can go check him out. Tactical Reviews usually talks about that if you're pro gun, you're gonna love him. If you're anti-gun, he's probably gonna piss you off. I'm not gonna lie. But anyway, folks, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the video. Also, be sure to hit the bell for notifications. It helps out. Helps us with the or helps me with the YouTube algorithm. And as always, stay safe, stay frosty. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye now.